No one in the queue. Magic. Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Director, on the health benefits section, you said that revenues increased by 1 million, mainly due to refunds for performance guarantees. When we entered into contract with Cigna, one of the things that we make sure was in there was that they would have to reach certain benchmarks. Is that a reflection of that, just to make sure that we're holding them accountable for certain things?
That is
it'll meet them
correct.
then
Yes, that is
money
exactly.
back into our coffers, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, appreciate you having those in place, because obviously it helps us as well when they don't achieve something.
Councilmember Kubach.
I wanted the council to be aware, as of, Comptroller Brown made the comment, or made the statement that the revenues at the municipal courts are considerably down. I think you said 1.7 million. And I'm concerned about the fines and forfeitures going down, and yet we're still going to construct a justice center. I'm concerned that there's a systemic problem there at the municipal courts, and the revenues are going down and the expenses are going up. I want to make a note of that. Thank you.
Councilmember and I feel compelled to once again say that we don't know whether we're going to construct a new justice center, or we are simply taking steps to hire a consultant and explore whether it's feasible. Any other questions? Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. Director Dow, in that this reporting allots the last payment to the red light camera company that we did the settlement with a few years ago, how much of money did the settlement agreement call for the city to pay? And we had quite a bit of discussion that that money would not come out of the general fund, that we would require ATS to collect those funds from outstanding traffic violators. So how much was the original settlement amount, please?
I don't know the original settlement, but the projection right now is that the general fund will cover $2.22 million of that settlement.
So whatever the settlement was, despite what was talked about around the council table when it was agreed to pay them the settlement, which I thought was not necessary, but nonetheless, a majority ruled that we should do that. But we were assured, Mr. Feldman's absent today, in large part by Mr. Feldman, that this money would probably not come out of the general fund account, that it would come from uncollected fines over the course of years. But you testified today that we're paying at least $2 million, how many dollars out of the general fund?
$2,220,000.
Okay, I want us to treat our after-school programs the same way when we come to those. The general fund does have money to allocate to things when we want to do it. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it kindly.
We'll point out that the discussion with council was that the intention was to continue to collect red light camera fine revenue, but the general fund was always in the arrangement before council as a backstop.
We had, you're correct, the controller, in order to certify that ordinance, had to set aside that money in reserve fund balance, so it was always there in the event that the collections out of the red light camera tickets weren't enough to cover the settlement agreement.
So, but in addition to the $2 million a year that the police department had previously received from red light camera revenue, we've also had a budget impact of repaying under the contractual settlement with ATS.
That's correct.
Of additional $2.2 million. Are there any additional collections ongoing for red light camera fees?
Yes, there are, but you know, the more they age, the harder it becomes to collect those. So,
And I understand that there are certain folks who have been telling people not to pay those tickets as well. Councilmember Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Dow. Very healthy fund balance. I hope everybody realizes that we are way above the city's targeted percentage for fund balance. My question refers to page 6 of the MOFR. It appears as though the Houston Emergency Center is on the verge of getting ready to hit their budget cap. And with the amendment that we put in, the same situation as we had a couple of months ago with the Houston Fire Department. Can you explain to me how they're going to operate the Houston Emergency Center when they're already, with 2 months remaining in the fiscal year, at their budget level?
Well, this is mainly transfer from the general fund to the Houston Emergency Center, what you see here. And so we just advance funds throughout the year. So the general fund will pay no more than the budget. The remainder has to be made up, and there is no projection for an issue in the Houston Emergency Center fund itself this year. So all you're seeing here is just the transfer the general fund makes. You know, we're slightly ahead of schedule, which is what you see here.
So next month, the transfer will reflect that accordingly, and they'll have enough money in their budget to operate?
That is
the
correct.
fiscal year. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember, if I may add, they receive funds from other sources. It's 911 neutral, so they have other sources of funds. So we pay what we have committed, and then we stop.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christie.
Mr. Dow, I just wanted to reiterate the shout out to the employees. There's an additional 3.8 million less in expenditures on the disease care system, and they're really working towards a wellness program. That 3.8 million plus 42 million, there's 45 million instead of an $18 million deficit that we had a year plus ago. So a shout out to the employees for working toward a true wellness program and saving the city money.
Yes, and to Director Reed as well, I was talking with him yesterday. He's not stopped his efforts by any means. He has new programs in the works for next year, so we're hoping to continue this trend.
Councilmember Starding.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up to your comments on the red light cameras, with the collection continuing, as I heard, if that's not the case, please correct me.
Yes, collection is continuing, although as accounts age, it gets more and more difficult.
I understand that. I've been involved with a lot of the process with regard to collections in the city. But my concern is that where will it, if we're going to reconcile the 2.2, are we, when we do collect what we can collect, will that be paid back to the general fund?
Yes, ma'am.
And offset this 2.2 as it can? And can we get a report of what we feel we can collect so that we have an understanding that we just don't sort of, that's no longer a priority. We've you know, we paid them off, so now let's not worry about collecting. I don't want that mindset, and I don't think it will be, but I just want to share that.
Yes, ma'am, and we've changed policy. I'll make sure that there's a report delivered to the council at the appropriate fiscal affairs committee meeting. But we have also done things that the city has not previously been willing to do. We do credit reporting. We are serious about collecting our debt.
No, I know that. We've been very aggressive, and I appreciate that, but I just don't want that to change.
No, we've engaged a third-party collection company that is still pursuing those. It's incentive-based in their contract, so they have every incentive to keep going after it.
And Director, I give you your kudos. You have done a fantastic job. Since I started here, I know what it looked like before, and I know what it looks like today, so I appreciate your work. I'm just making sure that we continue on and know that it's supported.
We'll be happy to bring that to you.
Of course, that was also the genesis of our Champion Challenger model for debt collections. Councilmember Costello, I still have a councilmember in the queue if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to speak for a change, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay.
And I wanted to point out something I pointed out yesterday at our budget meeting on page 11, which is our outstanding debt on general fund. And you'll notice that over the past year, our general debt has gone down by almost $135 million. And I wanted to say to the audience that's viewing, as well as the audience here, that that's a result of Rebuild Houston. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Correct. Councilmember Kubash.
Well, since we're on the red light camera issue, Mayor, and it was a vote of the people. The people said they didn't want them, and we'll have to deal with it. I didn't vote for the cameras to be in. I wasn't in office then. Perhaps if I'd have voted for it, I'd have got a bottle of wine Monday. But nonetheless, let me say this. When you say that we have turned these over to a collection agency, for those of you who saw Senate Bill 1119 passed in the Senate that Corona carried, it forbids the turning over of the records from red light camera tickets to a credit bureau. It's in the Transportation Code of the Texas State Legislature passed it, and it's one of the statutes. And if we're doing it, we need to stop doing it because it's a violation of state law. When the red light camera citations were issued, they were in violation of state law because they did not have in the notice of violation that a warrant could not be issued for your arrest. That was also amendment into at the time it was passed by Senator Dan Patrick. So what I'm telling you is this is a done deal. It's over with. We have to deal with it. But the people voted no. Thank you.